switch it to y. Then we flippity-floppity our x and our y. Then we solve for y. Subtract 1. Take the cube root of both sides. Okay. Now I wouldn't write that as y because I'm just going to rewrite it then as the inverse of x. Okay? So that's the first part. The first part was find the inverse. Okay? Second part is use the composition rule to figure that out. So or to figure out that it truly is the inverse. So I'm going to call f the inverse of f here. I'm going to use that as my g of x. Okay? So the first one is we need to say f of g of x is x. So that's f of my inverse, which was the cube root of x minus 1. Well, that's going to be the cube root of x minus 1 cubed and plus 1. Cube and a cube root cancel each other out, so that leaves me with x minus 1 plus 1. Minus 1 plus 1 cancels itself out, leaves me with x. So we're good through there. Then I need to show that g of f of x is also x. So then I need to show that g of x cubed plus 1 is, so then that is going to be the cube root of x cubed plus 1 then minus 1. Okay. Plus 1 minus 1 goes away. Cube root of x cubed just leaves me with x. So then now we've proven that the inverse function that we found, or the inverse of f, truly is its inverse. Okay. Questions on that? So you guys are probably on the internets, and so you are probably familiar with the latest craze that's sweeping the nation. No, I'm not talking about the mannequin challenge. Okay? I'm talking about the coolest game out there, Function, Not a Function. Now, you've played the game Function, Not a Function before. Okay? You guys are trendsetters in the worldwide craze going on of it. Okay? What's the first rule in Function, Not a Function? Okay? Let's say we've got a picture of a graph. Okay? What's the first rule in Function, Not a Function?
Vertical line test.
Vertical line test. And what does the vertical line test tell us in the picture of a graph?
It tells you it's function.
How?
If the line crosses twice, or the graph crosses twice.
If the graph hits my vertical line twice, it's not a function, right? But if it only hits once, it is a function. Now, the downfall with the vertical line test is it only tells me if what I'm looking at is a function. Okay? That's all that tells me. It doesn't tell me anything else. Okay? It just tells me what I'm looking at. Is it a function? Is it not a function? Okay? I'm going to today add a rule to everybody's favorite game. Okay? And that rule is rule number 2. Okay? Instead of having a vertical line test, we're going to have a horizontal line test. And the horizontal line test. So now I'm going to take a horizontal line and I'm going to move it vertically across my function. Okay? And or vertically across my graph, I should say, and if my picture only touches my horizontal line once at all points, then my inverse is a function. Okay? So the vertical line test is used to determine if what I'm looking at is a function or not. The horizontal line test is used to determine if the inverse of what I'm looking at is a function or not. Okay? Now, the fun thing is that if a suspected graph passes both tests, okay? So if what I'm looking at passes both tests, we call that it is a function because it passed rule number 1. So we call that function 1 to 1. Okay? It's a special kind of function. And that special kind of function is every x will give me a unique y. There's no repeats in the x's. That's what makes it a function. And there's no repeats in the y's. Okay? So that's what makes it 1 to 1. Each x gives me a unique y. Okay? Now, you know a lot about what's going on there. You don't even need a graphing calculator today to figure out the answers to some of these questions. Okay? All right? So, the first function that we're going to look at is 2x squared. Okay? What should that graph look like? Should look like a W or a U? U, because it should be a parabola, right? Okay? So it should be, is it going to open up or is it going to open down? Up. Okay? Remembering from way back with our end behavior, if it's an even degreed function, both sides are going to be going in the same direction, right? Okay? If it's odd, they're going to be going in opposite directions, right? Okay? And then I'll talk a little bit more once we get into a couple of these other ones. Okay? So that's what that graph looks like. Well, actually, this graph looks just like that. Okay? So it looks kind of what we think it should look like. Okay? So now let's take our rule number 1 here. Let's get ourselves a that's as close as I can come to orange. Okay? So there's our vertical line. Slide it across our suspected function. Function, not a function. It is a function. Okay? Now, take my vertical line, spin it. Now I take and I run across. What about the inverse? Is the inverse of 2x squared a function? No, it is not a function. Okay? So the inverse is not a function. I could just put no, I wouldn't have to put not, I suppose. Okay? Because it touches here twice on the horizontal line test. Okay? With me? What should this graph look like? A W?
No, it should be like.
Should be going in opposite directions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay? So it should be it should look like this, right?
Yeah.
Now, or it could also look like this, right? Now, it's going to look like one of those. This one that we have actually looks like this one, okay? If we have a pronounced hump, we have extra terms. Meaning, we'd have a squared term. We'd have an x term in the function. That's what produces that hump, okay? Or that hump and then the valley, too, is those extra terms. This particular function just has x cubed. It doesn't have any other x in it, so it's going to look like that. Okay? And in fact, there it is. Okay? So again, here is my vertical line going through, only ever touching once, right? Okay? Spin it, make it be a horizontal line now, run it vertically, only ever touches in one spot, right? So, is f of x a function? Yes. Is the inverse of f a function?
Yes.
Yes. So then, therefore, f of x is a 1-to-1 function. Okay?
Doesn't it hit more than one stuff using the vertical line there? Like it goes over the flat part more than once?
The flat part, if we would zoom in on the flat part, there is no hump there. And it really isn't flat. It increases and then it increases. Yep. Okay. How about this one? What should this one look like?
Oh yeah, it's like this.
It's a V, right? Okay. V or a mountaintop, depending upon a value, right? So in this case, it should be a V. Okay? Right? V for value, absolute value. Okay? Should be all coming back. Is h of x a function? H of x is a function, right? Because it passes. Whoa! Put the marker down, Linz. Passes the vertical line test. Okay? Is the inverse of h of x a function? No, the inverse is not a function. So my function is a function, but the inverse is not a function.
What is it about again?
If it was a negative out in front of the absolute value. Okay? Peaking. Okay, that's what I thought. So then, give me an example of, let's see, let me go this way. Oops, I should have kept that on there. Let me go here, and there, here, and there. Okay? Give me an example of a graph, a curve, if you will, that is not a function, but its inverse is a function. Okay? With me? Think about it, one where it's not a function, where the graph is not a function, but the inverse is. I don't know, you tell me. You tell me. Okay? draw one where the graph is not a function and the inverse is a function. Okay. All right. Not a, and so why is that not a function? Why is this not a function? Vertical line test fails right there, right? Okay. Why is the inverse a function? It's only ever touching there once, right? Okay. And we got to fix this part up here. There we go. Okay. So that graph is not a function, but the inverse is a function. Okay. Now, come up with one where the graph is not a function and the inverse is not a function. Okay? Go. Yeah. Why? Hard for the people watching on the line to see it if you don't draw it. Okay? Not a graph is not a function. Doesn't pass the vertical line test.
That's a good support there.
That? I'm thinking she wanted to draw a circle. Okay. Yeah. So it's not a function. So it's a circle. And we'll get to those second semester.
What's wrong with it? Try to fix it.
It looks like an egg. But you know what? We'll call it an ellipse.
Can I fix it?
No.
So,
Looks good.
I want to use the stencil.
Can't you do like a
I just want to use
We could do a cycloid, yep.
and that would be like what, X to the
No, that's actually a parametric function. Yeah. Okay? Alright? Your homework is the same as it was last night. Okay? Now, NQH, you should be able to do those last few problems. Okay? Okay? And you got the rest of the time to work on it.
Can I work on